Well, welcome to Common Farm. My name's Georgie Newbery. I'm a flower farmer and florist based here in sunny Somerset between fashionable Bruton and up-and-coming Wincanton. It's the end of January and I thought I'd take you for a little tour. The barking noise is my dog Tea Cake, who is secretly the boss and a bit of a shocker. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Press the bell icon and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. If any of the tips and tricks I give you along the way are useful, you can always buy me a coffee. The coffee buying link is in the blurb to all my clips. Best of all, you can now join my club where we are having regular live Q&A sessions, all the information about the project's going, and actually it's already a lovely community. Anyway, enough banging on. Let's have a look around the farm. There's not an enormous amount of actual physical flower farming going on here at the moment, but you can see by the new material piled up on my dead hedge that there has been quite a lot of clearing up. That's leftover willow from Christmas, for example, and all the twiggery pokery we cut, we add to this dead hedge, which interestingly stays kind of the same height year after year after year because it slowly rots down and provides a great environment. Look, Fabrizio's put a piece of old corrugated iron there. That's because in the summer it gets nice and hot here, and sometimes if you pull that corrugated iron up you'll find a grass snake. You will. Not today. And look, in the middle of the hedge, the dead hedge, he's made proper piles of wood, and this is a place where invertebrates can overwinter. Beetles love it, but it's also a place where birds can hide. A little wren will love a dead hedge. Anyway, our dead hedge goes all the way along here, and so it's been filled up with all sorts of bits. Hello, that's me. Hello. So there you can see Tea Cake, my dog. She's a border terrier. And if I pull round, the blue door there is Granny. Granny lives in the tractor shed, which as you can see has been much done up. This patch here is called the pitch by yard, and it's where most of our annuals, anything that just spends one season in the ground, grows here. Not much going on. That's where my tulips are and my biennials. We've had very cold weather, so the hardy annuals that I had in there, they'd self-sown and they were sort of opportunistic, have all been killed off by the frost. We're very wet clay, and so if we had more freely draining soil we might manage better for longer, but anyway, doesn't matter. The tracks on the ground are because James is here working on the project, and the mess in front of us is the entrance to the project. Which is all happening. I'm putting a new hub for the business in the middle of the field, and it's quite scary. But of course, every time you've got to break an egg to make an omelette, but equally while we're at it, we've put some more bird boxes up. If you're putting bird boxes up on your land, face them northeast, because then they don't get too hot in the summer, so the little baby birds don't cook, but also they're facing away from the prevailing wind, which comes from the west here. So walking quickly across the quagmire, we're going up to my next patch, and you can see with Common Farm it's laid out very badly. We developed as a flower farm piecemeal over the years, and so it was never laid out terribly well, and I am in the process of all the muddy mess you can see is me trying to rationalise the space and make it more efficient. That there are the roses have been pruned. Those are the prunings. And this patch is called the lady's smock because in the wild edges here there are lots of lady's smock growing, and the idea is that this is shrubs and perennials up here, And we're very generous with the space. We're lucky we've got lots of space, so we have these rather sort of spacious paths, which do look very nice, but are wasteful and mean that I walk further than I need to. There's the project in the field. So this is all shrubs and perennials. I made a clip about pruning the roses, which I posted last week, I think, or the week before. And now they've all been done, and they've all been heavily mulched with Lakeland Gold compost from Dalefoot in Cumbria. And now that my lovely neighbour Sue is back, she doesn't work quite year round here. She takes a couple of months off in the deep winter. Anyway, we're back to the grindstone now, thank goodness for Sue. And so slowly all these beds, week by week, will be mulched, weeded over, mulched and fed. The mulch is the feed, ready for the season ahead. The poplar, the tall poplar there, make fantastic cut material. I'm going to make a funeral wreath, which I will show you next week, using poplar. The buds at this time of year smell delicious. They smell of propolis, which is the glue that the bees use to stick their hives together. So it smells like honey. Anyway, I'll show you what I do that next week. But we struck those poplar. They were stuck in the ground, just twigs. And haven't they done well? I was talking to a student today on a one-to-one session, and we were talking about how to lay out a cut flower farm. I have to say, this is very tidily laid out, but the paths are wider than they need be, and the beds are about 1 metre wide, so they're okay. What's worth doing is having quite wide spaces at the end, so that you've got space for your trolley to take, they need to back and forth a bit, getting them round. I've got lots of foliage here. The bright green there, along that bed, that's Griselinia. And then here we have my lovely Physocarpus, smoke bush. Not all of it. This is a self-sown blackcurrant. Lovely foliage in the spring. It smells delicious. It smells like Ribena. This is hopeless. This is a black elder. The one, and off the top of my head, I can't remember what it's called, with very serrated leaves, which flops when you cut it. So it shouldn't be here. I should get rid of it. It's a waste of space. This lovely yellow is variegated cornus. And here we have gorgeous seed heads. You can see how the birds have been working their way through the seed heads through the winter. I'm not going to cut them down until the spring. Apart from anything else, these are echinops. You can see how the tall old stems are protecting the new growth. So even though we've had terrible cold weather, the height of these stems will just protect the new growth a little bit. Anyway, there we go. Lovely colour up here. The light is very good. And then here we have my curly whirly willow, which I slowly cut down through the spring, and it's budding up really beautifully. If I cut this now, I'll show you. There you can see the fat, juicy buds. Lovely in winter floristry. And there's Fabrizio putting up more bird boxes. You can't have too many bird boxes. This bank of woodland we planted when we first came here, and it's done very well. So here are the peonies, looking very, very wintry. They can have a weed off and they'll be all right. I wonder if I look very carefully if I'll see. I think it's too early for buds here. I'm not even going to look. but they are there nevertheless. And this is where the dahlias have been for the last few years. All my pigtail spike collection carefully kept here for the spring when I want them. And we'll see whether the dahlias go here or not in 2023. It'll all depend on how the project goes. So walking on around the farm, there are the polytunnels which still haven't been washed. Here are the giant step over crab apples, which are as high as this is kind of chest height for me. So they're like really giant crabapple stepovers, and the idea is that these tall stems from the middle will be bent over and make the next row of the trellis, and behind them is the wildflower meadow, which Fabrizio has given a little winter cut, just so that as things like the cowslips and the snake's head fritillaries come up, they'll come up clearly and we're able to see them. But you can see he's also cut the hedge, so we need to come along with a rake and rake up where he's done a bit of hedging. He's not a big hedger, but you know, you have to cut the hedges back a little bit, or they become a wood very quickly, and that's fine if you want a wood, but not so good if you want a hedge. So that all needs raking up. So here are the polytunnels from the back. The narcissi bed, freshly mulched, as I showed in last week's clip. Plenty of tidying up to do here. I think what happens in the winter, for me, is by the time we've got the dahlias lifted in November, and then we get the tulips planted, and then we're really busy supplying all the Christmas foliage and willow and, you know, getting Christmas done. And then we sort of collapse in a heap and it's dark. And the dark doesn't just kind of weigh me down because it's dark. It also, I find, wonder if I can put you on a tree here and then I can put my hands in my pockets because it's really cold. Woo, here we are. Very, very technically adept, me. There we are. Don't fall off. There. So I think what happens is sort of the big cutting season slows down and the light shrinks, and so the days become shorter and you physically can't get that much done, which I find really depressing. I don't like it when it's dark until 8 o'clock in the morning and dark again at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And suddenly now we're 31st of January and it's light at 8 o'clock in the morning, light enough. And it's still light enough at 5:30 in the afternoon, which means you can get stuff done, you know, as well as paying your bills and doing the laundry and school run and just getting your life organised. You've actually got time to be a flower farmer. And so I think that's why I literally panic in the winter that I'm behind and that the roses haven't been pruned, and I get in a flap. But today, 31st of January, I am not in a flap because I can see that if I'm focused and get on, the polytunnels will be washed, possibly even this weekend. And the seeds will be sown. The roses have been pruned. The mulching will get done. The season will happen. And I needn't panic. Anyway, relax. I haven't sown any seed yet. I've got my sweet pea sowing demo on Friday, if you want to join in that. The sweet peas are always the first seeds of the year that I sow. I have, of course, got some in my tunnel from that I sowed in the autumn. But these will probably catch up fairly quickly and they'll be flowering outside. And the ones I've got flowering in the tunnel I will abandon for these that I sow now and which flower outside, because they'll be kind of less hothousey, stronger, flower for longer. I have my big tunnel, but as soon as I've got stuff flowering outside, I abandon the tunnel, really. So yes, the big sow-a-thon starts, the big sowing for me really starts on the 15th of February, because we've got 10 hours of daylight, and not before then. So good luck with the last few days of hunkering down. Enjoy the return of the light. I can almost smell the sap rising. There's a sort of, there is a green smell. It's the end of January. Go outside and have a sniff. Anyway, thanks very much for coming along, and I'll see you soon. The big activity for January is mulching. So a week ago there were 4 bags of mulch here, and now there is only 1 and a bit.